Just took 2 lessons and now it sits in my closet collecting dust. So guys, Rock Dog stars Luke Wilson, Eddie Izzard, and J.K. Simmons. Now, to talk about the plot of this movie, it's basically an animated film that's about this Mastiff that wants to leave home to become a musician, and everybody, including his father, is against him. Now, the story personally reminds me of Kung Fu Panda meets Zootopia. It's kind of in the realm of that. You can even throw an open season there if you wanted to, because some of the characters and the way that they act and things that they say, that could be thrown into this film as well as a good comparison. However, the whole opening pretty much talks about, without giving away spoilers, it talks about how their village is pretty much paradise and how they have to keep finding this paradise that lives within their village. Yet they have to face the trouble of fighting off wolves and things like that keep attacking the sheep, because they have this sheep army that is supposed to pretty much protect the village, but all the sheeps don't really know what they're doing, and it kind of makes for good humor, because the humor comes with the sheeps and how dumb they actually are compared to some of the other villagers that are maybe more wise and know more of what they're doing. Hence, Luke Wilson's dad and his character always wants him to be a guard and watch over the village and protect the village from the wolves and be part of the sheep army. But on the other hand, Luke Wilson's character doesn't want to do that, and he wants to become a musician, and that's when you meet the character that is this cat, and he's like a god of rock and roll. Now, the cat who's a god of rock and roll, his name is Angus, and in the movie, he is a rock god, and, the Mastiff, Luke Wilson's character, who I keep forgetting his name, I believe it's Bodhi. Bodhi wants to become, his side man, his wingman, and wants to learn from him. So one day he's just out in the field near his home in his village, and he just had this argument with his father, and he's trying to leave home and just be away from the village, but he ends up finding this radio that falls from the sky, and you can read that in the summary of the movie, so I'm not giving anything away, and it shows it in the trailer as well. He finds this radio from a guy that's flying a plane, and it just falls out of the sky, and because of something that distracted the plane from dropping all the stuff. So that drops, he finds this radio, starts messing with the stations, and then Angus comes on, and he starts talking about how, you gotta do what you want to do, no matter what somebody tells you otherwise. And he even says, even if it's your dad telling you not to do it, you have to do it if that's what you want to do. And so that's what, Bodhi does, and he goes against his father's will of him being a guard, and basically starts trying to find himself in the city, and just tries to be the musician that he's always wanted to be. Now, you only start to see that side of him, though, as he makes his way to the city and the people that he meets once he gets there. And there's this park area where there's a bunch of musicians that play, and there's a bunch of different bands and different animals that can be seen doing different things and making different music. And so he really loves that whole environment, and it gives him a chance to pretty much prove himself to everybody who hasn't seen him try to prove himself before. And so he does that right off the bat. Whenever he gets there, he gets challenged to a shred-off by one of the main characters in this band that he wants to be in, but kind of gets excluded from because he's so new and maybe doesn't know that much about music as much as he thinks he does. And so really the character Angus comes along and really helps him find out who he is in life, and the bond that they have really helps him become the musician that he's always wanted to be. And I know I keep saying that, but that's because that's such a huge important part of this movie, and without that relationship, without the banter going back and forth, there would be no movie. And it is from the co-director of Toy Story 2, and I do have to say, I loved the animation in this. I thought the humor was very spot on for most of the part. Some things were kind of not funny and maybe was said at the wrong time, but for the most part, this is a very funny movie, and you can appreciate the stupid humor that comes from it. And again, this is definitely made for the younger audience, but I went with my little sister, and me and her just laughed out loud for a lot of funny moments throughout this movie, and so I really appreciated it for that, and for actually being funny and not be like Angry Birds, which has this huge cast, and also animated based off of a game, and just isn't funny at all. But this was an original idea somewhat. It was basically this year's Sing, but it was original for what it was, and even though we've seen some elements of it in other movies, we get a different storyline and a different perspective of a character who wants to become who he really is. So you guys, the only real problem that I had with this film was some of the jokes didn't always work, and it does take a bit of a turn with how fast-paced the film actually is and is intended to be for the younger audiences. It does take quite a bit of a slow burn towards the middle, almost to the end of the film, up until the final conclusion of the film, and even then, when they show the final song and they show what everything's been building up to, it's not really as hyped as it should have been, and you're just kind of there with everything resolved, but it's not the feeling of like an upbeat comedy. It's kind of like, oh, this is actually a little bit depressing, and I don't know how to feel about it. But that was really my only nuisance with the film. Besides that, I really enjoyed it. I thought this was a slapstick animated comedy, and I do see myself watching it again. I do think it's going to fly under the radar for a lot of people. I don't know why people are seeing Collide more than Rock Dog. That's just my opinion personally. I have not seen Collide yet, though. I'm not going to see it today because it's Sunday, but I'll probably see it later this week if I get the chance to. Which I will let you guys know whenever that's coming out. But for me, Rock Dog, guys, I am going to give an average. That is the best I can do with this film. I didn't honestly think I would rate it as high as I did. I thought I was going to go one more below and give it a moderate. But for me, guys, this is an average, just straight up. I laughed throughout the whole movie, and there were some really laugh-out-loud moments that I loved. And honestly, I can see myself watching it again, like I said, and I would recommend it to anyone who is young, who likes animated movies, or just, likes a good family film in general. So, thank you guys for watching. This was my review for Rock Dog. I hope you enjoyed, especially the opening of this review. I thought that was pretty funny, because I really do not know how to play the guitar. I just got it one year for Christmas, went to like 2 sessions, and never went back to it. So, it was a little more than 2, but meaning is I sucked. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. My name is Nick. This is the Tempest Productions. Ryan did not see this movie because he didn't want to, and I will see you guys in the next video.